Let's talk about ancient Egypt, shall we? A land of mighty pyramids, powerful pharaohs, and, if we're being honest, some of the most bizarre and downright hilarious moments in history. Now, don't get me wrong. We're talking about a civilization that lasted over 3,000 years. They left behind jaw-dropping monuments and advanced mathematics. But dive a little deeper, and suddenly, you've got enough material for history's first stand-up routine. So, grab your mummified snacks and hieroglyphic notebooks, because we're not here to talk about dry old textbooks. Oh no, we're here to uncover the funny side of one of the world's most iconic ancient civilizations. Let the laughter and the sand begin. Pharaohs were treated like gods, but they were also just people with egos, big ones. One of the most infamous pharaohs, Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great, was an absolute legend and a bit of a show-off. The guy ruled for 66 years and built so many statues of himself that his people probably couldn't walk a mile without his face looking down at them like, "Hey, did you miss me?" Oh, and speaking of statues, Ramses once had a giant one of himself carved out of stone and then shipped in one piece down the Nile to impress people. Imagine being tasked with moving that thing. Some poor worker was probably standing there like, "We're doing what now? Ramses, do you need one more statue? Isn't 700 enough?" And then there's Hatshepsut, one of the most remarkable pharaohs. She decided, you know what? I'm a woman and also pharaoh. Deal with it. Iconic, right? But here's the kicker. She wanted to make sure everyone knew she was serious about this whole pharaoh gig. So she had herself depicted as a man with a beard in all her official art. That's right. Hatshepsut was like, "Yeah, I'm smashing the glass ceiling, and I'll accessorize while I do it." If you thought your grandma was sentimental about never throwing anything away, wait till you hear about the Egyptians and their mummies. These folks didn't just mummify people, they mummified everything. Cats? Mummified? Crocodiles? Throw them in there. There are even mummified beetles. That's right, beetles. Talk about taking creepy crawly to a new level. But sometimes the Egyptians got a little too focused on this preservation of the body thing. Some mummies were so elaborately wrapped that the person would have needed a team of archaeologists just to unpack them. Can you imagine the afterlife greeting? "Oh, hey, Tutankhamun. Sorry we wrapped you in 14 layers of linen. The afterlife cafeteria is closed like an hour ago." Also, fun fact, when ancient Egyptian priests made offerings to a god, they'd sometimes fake mummification. That's right. They'd hand over a bundle of bandages with zero body inside, like a spiritual decoy. Somewhere out there is a god just shaking his head going, "Another empty McMummy wrapper? Seriously? Let's talk about the pyramids." These things are awe-inspiring. But have you ever stopped to think how much of a logistical nightmare they were? Historians estimate that each pyramid took about 20 to 30 years to build, with thousands of workers involved. And here's the funny bit. These workers were apparently paid in beer and bread. Yep, bread and beer. Imagine your boss telling you, "No salary this month, but here's a six-pack. Now go haul some 50-ton rocks." And then there's the mystery of the Sphinx's missing nose. What happened here? Well, some theories say it was vandalized, but others suggest time and weather slowly chipped away at it. I like to think someone in ancient Egypt was just having a terrible day. Maybe a pigeon landed on it, and they thought, "You know what? That's it. I'm canceling the nose." Nothing says ancient Egypt like bold eyeliner, right? Both men and women painted their eyes with thick black coal. But this wasn't just a fashion statement. No, they genuinely believed that eyeliner had magical properties. You know, like sunscreen, but way more supernatural. The irony? They probably didn't realize their magic eyeliner was actually protecting them from the harsh desert sun. Which means ancient Egyptian trendsetters were out here accidentally inventing SPF while wearing enough eyeliner to rival a 2003 emo band. Also, let's not forget wigs. Egyptians were obsessed with wigs. Everyone had them, from the pharaohs to regular workers. But here's the hilarious twist. Sometimes they shaved their entire heads to avoid lice or stay cool in the heat, only to put on itchy, elaborate wigs that probably made them even sweatier. A true commitment to style. Now, we've touched on the Egyptians mummifying animals, but let's dive deeper into their love-hate relationship with wildlife. Cats, famously, were treated like furry little gods. In fact, if you even accidentally hurt a cat in ancient Egypt, you could face some serious consequences. It was less time out and more pyramid jail. But it wasn't just cats. Crocodiles were sacred to the god Sobek, which means some temples had pet crocodiles. Pet crocodiles. Can you imagine someone casually bragging about their pet? Oh, you've got a fluffy puppy? Cute. I've got a 10-foot croc named Bubbles. He guards the living room. Let's smear you with crocodile dung. Stomachache? Oh, there's some moldy bread for that. Yes, they actually figured out mold could heal infections, which is ahead of its time. But still, moldy bread. And if you thought today's healthcare was expensive, just think about what it'd cost to have a donkey kicked in your presence to drive out evil spirits. That's right. Donkey therapy was a thing. You'd sit there, probably nervous, while some poor donkey was like, "Wait, what's happening?" Finally, let's tackle the amazing bureaucracy of the afterlife. You didn't just die and stroll into paradise. Oh no! You had to pass the dreaded weighing of the heart test. The idea was that your heart was weighed against a feather. If your heart was too heavy with sin, oops, you got devoured by a part lion, part hippo, part crocodile monster called Amit, a creature specifically designed to ruin your day. Now imagine how much pressure that test would add to your daily life. You'd probably second-guess everything you did. Did I steal that loaf of bread? Great. Now I'm hippo food in the afterlife. And there you have it, the funny side of ancient Egypt. They weren't just master engineers and spiritual pioneers. They were also wig-wearing, cat-worshipping, beer-loving humans with petty rivalries, wild fashion choices, and questionable medical advice. In a way, they were just like us. Brilliant, flawed, and hilariously weird. So the next time you see a pyramid or read about a pharaoh, remember, history isn't just fascinating, it's funny. And if you ever feel like life is getting a little strange, just think of those guys hauling statues across the desert while powered by bread and beer. Suddenly, it doesn't seem so bad, does it? Next chapter, Ancient Greece.